What we got here is a wrecked 1935 Chevy. Today we're going to be fixing dents. So we're going to start with the worst one here. We got this Fender here, and it is, I would say, in extremely poor condition. We're not trying to make it perfect, but it does need to be a lot better than this because this, it's kind of detracting from the look of the rest of this gem. So we're just gonna start fixing it, I guess. What else to say? You can see it's punched in here pretty good. We got lots of ripples and things going on here. We got some old cracks that have been repaired. We're not going to get too carried away with this. We'll probably just tack this edge back together. I don't want to get into that today. Just so people don't accuse me of making one of those scripted Motor Trend shows, you can see in here, this thing has not been touched in a long, long time. So this is a real dent here. This is the real deal. We're really fixing these dents. So whenever I'm fixing dents, I like to focus on getting the external dimensions right first. And in this case, we have this damage here, and this dent is actually pushing our external dimensions out. So it doesn't really matter at this stage what I do with this edge. I'm gonna have to relieve some of the damage in here, because you can see this crease all through here where the metal is actually pushed out, and it's pushing this whole edge out. So I can't just hammer this edge back in, because then we're going to damage the edge, and we don't want to add more damage than what we're fixing. So now that we got kind of the bottom pulled out, now we have to relieve the stress here. That'll help bring this back down, and it'll take some of this roll out, and we can go from there. Well, that's this fender very, very roughed in. We're not really trying to like repair it, I guess. We're just trying to make it look more presentable. We got it all kind of patinaed, and it still needs, you know, a lot of work if we were actually going to use this fender. But the goal here was just to make this more presentable for sitting out in my yard. There's kind of a fine line between neat old car and public nuisance. So if it looks like, you know, it's been through some kind of horrific event, then you're more of a public nuisance. But at least this, you can walk past it and it doesn't immediately jump out at you. We just left all this old ugliness here. The only correct way to fix this would be to cut this out and put in a patch, but we're not doing that. Oh, and don't worry, I expertly reattached the side molding as well. Somebody on the internet is just going to be screaming at the computer right now. So here's the next task here. We have the rear fender on the driver's side, and you can see it's kicked in right here. And there's also some nonsense going on at the back. Probably can't even see that. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. You can see there's a dent right there as well. And there's also some old repairs at the bottom here, which we're not going to worry about, these old cracks and stuff. And even this, I'm not going to get too carried away with. Even if we can only make it 10% better, 10% better is better than the 0% it is right now. All right. Well, for 5 minutes of goofing off, I can't really complain about that. Again, we're not trying to make this good. We're just trying to make it look less like it's been in a demolition derby. And I think for just, yeah, a couple minutes, that will be just fine. Obviously, this needs a lot of repair if we were trying to make it good, but we're not. We still have all this welding damage down here, which has left this kind of kinked right here, but without opening all this back up, we can't do much about that. And I may eventually repair this fender someday and use it on one of my other cars, but for now it looks like a fender again, so we'll move on to the next fender. So this is the next fender. It's worse than the other side, and so we're not going to be able to do as much with it. You can see here, we've got kind of a similar crease type dent here as to the other side, but unfortunately somebody's repaired this, so we're not going to deal with this. We're just leaving this, and it's also rolled up at the bottom here, so I'm going to try to unroll some of that and just get that looking a little bit better. And then at the back here, this is all munched up from somebody beating it out with a claw hammer, so we're probably not going to do anything with this. We'll just leave this. And then there's also some welding that's been done here. Again, we're not getting into a full renovation on this, just trying to make it look a little more presentable. Well, here's the final fender, and all we're going to do on this one is just try to pop out this dent in here. There you can see, got one of those situations, and we're not really doing anything else with this. This has been cracked and welded multiple times all along here. And the only way to fix that right is going to be to put in a big patch, and we're not doing that today. So I'll just leave that as is, as found, as they say, and just get the big dent out of it, and then that'll be just fine. Oh yeah, there's also this nice old crack repair here as well. That's a bit harsh, but we're not doing anything about that. Remember what I said about doing edges first? Another textbook case. Pull the edge, you get out 90% of this dent right here, so we just have a little bit here and a little bit here, and then that'll be just fine. So If we had started hammering here, we would still be at it. So edges, important to get those taken care of. As while we're doing our preventative maintenance on the fenders, I thought we'd take a moment to change the water in the engine. At least it's clean water. It means it was taken care of, I guess. You almost drink that. Oh, that's not good. Looks like we might have some oil in our water. At this point, I think it's safe to say that there is probably a 0% chance that there is anything even remotely savable inside this engine. But in the off chance that there is something that we could use, I just got some really scummy used oil that I'm going to fill it up with. Accomplishes two things. One, it's probably better than leaving it sit just with nothing in it. And for two, it gets rid of the scummy oil that's been sitting in my garage. So there you go. I don't think we need to even filter this. Well, the tire and tube are doing fine, but the air is starting to show through a little bit. So we went ahead and upgraded to a set of these iconic Firestone Town & Countries H7815 winter grips. Winter's on its way. We want to be prepared. Well, I don't know what the point of all this was, but I guess this thing is looking a little better in the fender department anyways. Um, yeah, I get the bumper cut off. The broken up bumper wasn't really adding anything to the situation, so we got that. We got some dents knocked out. I don't know what we did, but we did it. Yeah, this side's looking better. I did straighten out the tie rod. It was folded in half, so I kind of half-heartedly straightened it out, so make it a little easier to push around now at least. I don't really know what to do with this thing actually. I thought I knew what I was going to do with it, but now I'm not so sure. Let me know in the comments what you think we should do with this fine specimen. Whatever we do, we got to do it in the next 3 to 4 weeks because winter's coming and I can't have this in the garage. I don't know if I just finished cleaning this thing up and kind of half-heartedly hang the doors back on, shove it back outside, and then we can play around with it in the spring when we have more time, or if we're able to get something done to this in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Something fun. Something fun would be nice to do while the chicken truck is kind of sitting. We're not giving up on the chicken truck. We just needed a short break from it. Yeah, so that's why this is here, I guess. That's the only logical reason I can think of anyways. I do enjoy all these scummy old repairs and stuff, and like the multiple layers of brushed on paint. I think all this is pretty interesting, and you know, if time and money were no object, I would say take all the mechanicals from this car and plop them into this car and then drive this car, because to me this car is a lot more interesting with all of its battle scars and whatever than this kind of amateur restoration. This car looks better on camera than it is in real life. In real life it looks pretty horrific, and it's kind of embarrassing to drive it around and have people think that I did this work to it. So with this, you know, you're not really fooling anybody. This is exactly what it is, and that's that. But there's a few problems with that plan. First problem with that plan is that I simply don't have time to do that. Second problem we got is that these cars are entirely framed out with wood. All of this is supposed to be wood in here, and they just held the wood or the sheet metal to the body with nails. But the entire structure of the car, from the floor, sub rails, right up through here, these pillars, the door structure is all wood. And in this car, all of the wood has rotted away. So that is a massive job that I, again, do not have time for, and that would be insane for, yeah, we're not doing that.
Another problem here is that the front cross member of this frame is actually broken, and it's been very poorly repaired. See, big Gerber weld there over here, and it's also got a bunch of collision damage right here. And this is what the knee action front suspension in this car pivots off of, so it's kind of important. And it's not the end of the world because this cross member does bolt to the frame, but there's a really good chance that the frame is also going to be cracked where it's bolted to the frame. This is a common problem on these knee action cars, for this cross member to bend and break and take the frame out with it. So something to keep an eye out if you're in the market for one of these early Chevys with the knee action front end, is always take a really close look at the cross member and where it mounts to the frame, because you're probably going to be doing some repairs. In this case, I would say this cross member, between the collision damage and this, it is kind of no longer worthy of any kind of repair. Because of that, if I was going to do anything with this car,
I would be putting in a newer drivetrain and either a straight axle with leaf springs or some sort of independent front suspension that's a little bit newer. I do like the way this car drives, but I don't need two of the exact same cars that drive exactly the same. And it would be nice to have something that is capable of going faster than 50 miles an hour on the highway. So not a big deal that that cross member is broken, but it does, well, between the wood being shot and the frame being busted and the fact that this thing's beat to death, and it's also quite rusty, the floor is gone. That's, if this was any other car other than a 35 Chevy four-door sedan, then, you know, we'd be doing a lot more with it, but instead, I have some fun stuff planned for it. Like I already said, I just don't know if we're going to be able to get to that this year or if we'll piddle around with it in the spring. Either way, let me know in the comments what you think we should do with this. I'll shut up and stop talking. Thanks everyone for watching, and we're going to be working on this for the next couple of weeks, messing around with it, doing something fun with it, and then we'll be back hard on the chicken truck again. So there you go. See you next week.